They were going to kidnap my wife and my kid. That's what the sheriff said after he surrendered himself. This statement was completely unexpected, out of left field. There were no rumors about this. It is blowing my mind up, trying to understand and figure out what it means. But this is the major development. This was the piece of information that we weren't thinking about. We were going in another direction. That still might be where we end up. But this statement by this sheriff after he surrendered himself, what does it mean? What exactly does it mean? We're going to talk about it. I'm Vinny Politan, and this is Vinny Live.
Hey, get ready, get set, let's go.
It's true crime, streaming live, worldwide. It's Vinny Live. It's true crime, streaming live, worldwide. It's Vinny Live. Get ready. So post inside the chat. Get ready for the prosecutor hat. Get set to like and to subscribe. Let's go. It's time for Vinny Live.
All right. Woo, what a big day. What a big day yesterday. Wow. Huge, huge day, huge development, and a development that nobody was talking about this. There were lots of rumors, but there was no rumors about a plot. A plot? Are you kidding me? They were going to kidnap my wife and my kid. He's only got one kid. It's just the three of them. Go on his Facebook page, and you'll see the sheriff loves his daughter. Absolutely the apple of his eye. He'll do anything and everything to protect her and his wife. And that's what he said. The detective got on the stand, and that's what he said. So that's a big part of what I'm going to talk about here. But obviously, there are other parts of this that happened yesterday. If you, most of you probably saw it. I hope you saw it. Maybe you watched my show last night on Court TV. But we're going to go into a little more depth and a little more thinking about what this all really means. And obviously, be talking about your comments. We're streaming live on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, on Twitch. Post those comments. I do my thing. Then I scroll all the way back to the beginning and I go through and randomly select some of the comments. So, and then we'll talk about it. So that's where we are. This was unexpected. There's no way going into yesterday. I was like, okay, we're going to find out about some allegation of a kidnapping plot. And by the way, if you just look at that, there's two parts of this that were unexpected. Well, there were some rumors that it was the daughter and the wife, and you see where that came from. But they, why do you say they? Why on earth did he say they? I mean, there's a lot of different possibilities of this, but before we get to and really pull back the layers of this statement, let's get you inside. I want to go inside the courtroom just to play off of a couple of things. First, an image from the video. This image, I'll put it up big. Here we go. So they didn't play the whole video. There's obviously a lot more video. There's tons of video in the buildup to this moment. So what they rolled yesterday, I don't know, it was about 40 seconds, 30 seconds of the video, because that's all they needed to roll out legally for the probable cause preliminary hearing. They just had to demonstrate probable cause to bind this case over and take it from the lower district court up to the upper court. They call it, they don't call it superior there. They call it it escapes me. Every jurisdiction has different names for the levels of court, but it's going up to the trial court. So it gets up to the trial court. And the prosecution just basically played the video, had testimony identifying the people in the video, then talking about the findings of the medical examiner. And then that was it. I mean, the prosecution was done in 45 seconds to a minute. Then the defense did their cross-examination, and that was the bulk of what we saw yesterday. But I wanted to start with this. This was the image, and it didn't pop up, in the TV feed. They started rolling it, and this frame I saw pop up, and I thought this was an interesting frame, because this is like the moment the sheriff stands to confront the judge, and you can see they are looking at each other. Something has happened inside the circuit court. Thank you, Gina. Circuit court in Kentucky. Which, it's funny. It's always different places. Like if you go to the federal court, the district court, and the circuit court is the appellate court, and the district court is the trial court. So it's different in everything. But so what's going on here? Like this confrontation, this is the beginning. This is the moment where they were both seated, and the judge has it appears to be a very small little chambers inside this courthouse, and a very small desk, like the whole thing. And the camera angle may make it look even smaller. I'm not sure. But the sheriff stands up, and then I guess the judge knows things are not going bad. What are we going to do about this? Well, apparently one man is armed and one man is not. Right? One man is armed and one man is not. So the prosecution, this case is not about, it never has been, and I've said it from the beginning, this is not about who done it. It's not going to be, well, no, that's somebody else. This is an AI video. Somebody else did it. No, the defense didn't even address that. They were basically, without saying it, were conceding that, yeah, this happened. But you didn't see, and they kept pointing out, you didn't see what happened leading up to this on the video. The prosecution just picked a very small clip of the video. If it was a trial, they wouldn't be allowed to do that. I mean, the defense would obviously object and would want the entire video for the jury. And that's what you'll get at the trial. I don't know if we'll see it beforehand, maybe in a pretrial motion, potentially. But where we are in this clip, this is the beginning of I would call this the beginning of the confrontation. And you can understand this is too, and even look at the body language there. You can see that the judge is almost leaning back a little bit, and you can see the aggressive stance of the sheriff. This is not going to go well. I'm looking at his right arm, and my guess is, I don't know if it's on his weapon yet or if he's getting his weapon. Sheriff not wearing his sheriff outfit, wearing regular clothes, but it looks like the judge may actually he may have his robe on. He may actually have his robe on, because I think there were some people that were in there. So if he has people in his chambers, I guess some judges keep their robe on in chambers when they speak with people. My father was a judge, and chambers would not be wearing the robe, but I think he was. And to me, this is the closest we get to before the video that then just shows the sheriff and his weapon and what he does. I'm going to show that to you as well. It's slightly blurred and edited and frozen for all the purposes of not showing, we know what's happening. We know what's happening, and the jury will see it, obviously unblurred. So to me, this is huge, because it almost looks like the judge is in a defensive position where it's like, okay, yeah, but let me explain, right? It's almost like a let me explain kind of, you can see a slight tilt back. Let me explain. I wish we had the whole video so I could have used these moments and brought in my body language expert on my show. Leaning back, and then you've got the sheriff in a very aggressive posture, a confrontational. He's actually at this point sort of gotten up and walked around to the side of the desk where he now has full access to the judge. There's nothing between them at that moment. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to play the video. I want to warn you if you don't want to see it. I'm going to play that next. So the actual video, again, the camera is shooting a screen in the courtroom. It's not a straight on shot. There's a lot of things, but it happened so quickly. Like, this is all the prosecution did. There was very little buildup to that moment. And all of a sudden, all the people, including, because I think you're going to hear them in the background, the judge's family. This is an awful, awful moment. Awful, awful moment. Here we go. Let me show it to you right here. Here's the video. This is it. There's that confrontation. The judge is already ducking down behind his desk, behind his chair, looking for cover, trying to get out. There's no escape. He's literally cornered.
Is that a portion of the video?
Yes, it is.
And were you able to identify the parties that we saw in that video?
That was Sheriff Mickey Steins and Judge Kevin Mullins.
And also, who had the firearm?
Sheriff Steins.
And then Judge was also in his black robe.
Yes.
Do you know what portion of the courthouse that is?
That is the judge's chambers
And where's that located at, physically located?
in the Letcher County Courthouse.
That's all I have you on.
So, go back to a freeze frame of this. That's all. Legally, that's all they needed to do, the prosecution. That's all they needed to do to demonstrate probable cause in this case. It's extremely small chambers. This is a local district court. Most judges' chambers that I've been like my father's in federal court, and then when I was a prosecutor in New Jersey in state court, the chambers were much larger. But this is like the office within the chambers, I think. Right? Usually, the way it works in most chambers, you go in. There's like a common room where the support staff for the judge would be. Then the judge would have a little office or large office, depending upon which courthouse, that is separated from that. But it connects, but you can close the door. And this was a closed door, and you can see the door on the right-hand side there that has been closed. And I've said this on my show, and I'll say it here, because I know what the discussion will be on this case. It's all about why. Some people are going to say they understand. I don't think anyone's going to say it's justified, because it's not the way our society works. Like, this is like similar, potentially, depending upon what the evidence says, but is this like vigilante justice, but vigilante justice by a man of the law? Like, you can't be the judge, the jury, and the executioner all at once. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. If there was something illegal that the sheriff believed was being done, what he needs to do at that moment first is recuse himself. It's connected to his family. Bring in the attorney general. Bring in a neighboring sheriff's office. Bring in the KSP, Kentucky State Police, whatever it is. You bring in an outside agency because you can't do anything about it. You provide them the evidence, and then you let the system of justice take care of it if you believe he's doing something or is a threat somehow to your family. You can't do this. You can't do this. And we can say, well, I understand it. Well, Kentucky law, and I don't know when, like, there's so many things I want to say all at once. But his state of mind at the time is 1000% relevant to what the charges should be, will be, or what the jury finds, right? It's all about the state of mind. Criminal law focuses a lot on the intent and state of mind of the accused. And here that is really the only issue that we're dealing with, because the who, what, when is all answered here. It's the why. Prosecutors don't have to prove why, but they do have to, in Kentucky, sort of disprove part of the why. Okay? So it's not that they have to prove a motive, but they have to sort of disprove a state of mind. Let me just do it now. I'll just do it now. I think actually if I do the law first, it might be a good foundation for the rest of this live stream. So let me put it up. I'm going to cover myself up here. I wonder if I can get, no, I'm still not in there. All right. Anyway, a prosecution of a person shall be not guilty under this subsection, which is red rum, right? Red rum, if he acted under the influence of extreme emotional disturbance, for which there was a reasonable explanation or excuse. Well, you can say, well, it wasn't reasonable. Well, here's how you determine whether or not it's reasonable. It's not whether you and I think it's reasonable. The reasonableness of which is to be determined from the viewpoint of a person in the defendant's situation. So it's from the sheriff's viewpoint under the circumstances as the sheriff believed them to be. Okay? So it's extreme emotional disturbance is a defense to red rum. It's an imperfect defense because it doesn't make you not guilty. It takes you down to a lower level of an offense. But this is the important part. The extreme emotional disturbance with a reasonable explanation or excuse. That reasonableness is not like me or you on the outside looking at him and saying, huh, that's not reasonable. No. It's like you jumping into the sheriff's shoes, knowing what he knows, believing what he believes. Was it reasonable explanation or excuse for what he did? Now, it may or may not be, but that will be a question for the jury to determine, because if they believe that there's a reasonable or excusable extreme emotional disturbance that caused this action, then it becomes manslaughter, no longer red rum. It goes from a potential capital punishment to a potential of 10 years. It's a huge difference. It's everything. I just don't think not guilty is on the table here. The only way not guilty ends up on the table here is if this jury engages in jury nullification and says, give him a break. Give him a break. If they want to just give him a break. And they're allowed to do that. They're not told they're allowed to do that, but if they do that, there's nothing that anyone can do about it. That's the way our system works. So that's the law. So the rest of this conversation on the stream is going to be about why. Because the question is, did that why cause this extreme emotional disturbance? You see, these are the things, the pieces that have to be put together. You're taking the facts, which involve the why, and you're applying them to the law of extreme emotional disturbance. And you're saying, is that a fit or is that not a fit? Is it reasonable from his perspective or not? That's why answering the question of why is so important in this case. And that's why we're going to go to some more from here. Okay, so here's a little bit about what happened before from some, and again, this is all coming out on cross-examination. Prosecutors weren't touching this because they wanted to get in and out as quickly as possible. The defense wanted to get as much information as permissible under the circumstances. So let's take a listen to this.
I have.
And can you describe for us what happened immediately prior to the clip that we saw?
Sheriff Steins uses his telephone to make some phone calls. He then borrows.
Okay, that's interesting. We didn't really hear that before. Phone calls. And I wish they had shown us the video. But I guess originally I think we thought, maybe we were looking at text messages or something. But here, the testimony is very specific. The sheriff is making phone calls. Who is he calling? There's going to be a record of that. There's going to be somebody on the other end of that line. If someone answers it, that person needs to testify as well.
Judge Mullen's cell phone and appears to make a call on that. And that led to what you just saw.
That's a pretty simple, tight explanation. The sheriff makes some calls on his phone, plural. Judge hands him his phone. Sheriff makes calls from the sheriff's phone. And that's what led to this. That's the why of it, right? We think that's the why of it. I mean, it seems that it's got to be connected. Like just before what happened that we just watched in that video happens, phone calls on his own phone, phone call by the sheriff on the judge's phone.
Okay. So it's my understanding there were some people who were having a meeting with Judge Mullins prior to the sheriff's entry into the chambers. Is that correct?
Yes.
Have you identified those witnesses?
I don't know the names of them. There's about approximately 4 people in there.
4 more witnesses in this case. 4 people who were in with the judge prior to the sheriff going in there. Now, let's we see that camera and that angle. I don't know, is that room must be much larger than it appears in the video, right? If he's having a meeting with 4 other people in that it looks like a tiny office, but it could just be that camera angle that makes it look like that.
Then Sheriff Steins enters the judge's chambers and everybody else clears out.
You don't know their names?
Not right off, no.
Have you prepared a report?
In the process, yes.
Okay, all this, like the lead investigator 2 weeks afterwards doesn't know anything? Taking it with a grain of salt. They don't want to know anything. See, the more information that comes out here, the prosecution doesn't need any of it. So the less the lead case detective investigator knows about this from the Kentucky State Police, this is, and just for purposes of his position relative to the case, this is like the same position that Trooper Proctor had in the Karen Reed case, right? He was the case detective working for the state police. All right. I don't think there's any other similarities between the two other than their position, but that's who this guy is. And 2 weeks in, he knows nothing. It's like he knows less than, at times, it seems like he knows less than the local reporter who had reported on this case for the local newspaper. Like he doesn't know anything. Purposely doesn't know anything. He doesn't want to know anything. He wants to know this much. So he testifies about this much. They get probable cause and then they get out of there. So that's the game for prosecutors. In and out, the detective in and out. Let's just move on and get into this case. So that's why he seemingly knows nothing after 2 weeks, which would be quite shocking. Like it's a pretty big case. I would argue the biggest case right now in Kentucky.
You're in the process of preparing a report,
Yes, a lot of information.
but you've not spoken to any of those witnesses?
I'm not directly, but they've all been interviewed. There's recorded interviews of those people in the case.
Okay, so other officers have spoken with those 4 witnesses?
Yes.
And what is your understanding of what those 4 witnesses have said?
I don't recall.
You have no idea what they said?
No.
right? I don't know. Just 4 witnesses there to the biggest case, just on the other side of a closed door. I don't know what they said. See, that's all on purpose. It's all on purpose. Okay. So we'll get to this in a second, this lunch meeting. I want to get to that next. So again, the scene, it's not the sheriff, like, because they go to lunch, there's a lunch meeting beforehand. So I don't know. I think the other big unanswered question right now is what sort of knowledge or what does the sheriff know or think he thinks he knows prior to this phone, grabbing the judge's phone? Like, what does he know? He has to know something to want to go into that room and clear 4 people out that the judge is having a meeting with. He has to know something. Hold on one second. Oh, wow. He has to know something. Has to. Absolutely has to know something. Now, let's get to the lunch meeting, because this could be another part of the story. There's 2 different narratives going on about strange behavior in Letcher County, Kentucky. There's this lingering civil suit involving one of the sheriff's deputies doing things to female inmates after hours in the judge's chambers. That goes back to 2022, maybe 2021, 2022. But that's also sort of bubbling, and people have been talking about that as well. But let's see what this lunch meeting, what we learned about the lunch meeting prior
Of course, your investigation,
to what you saw in the video.
did you ascertain that prior in the day there had been a lunch meeting between Sheriff Steins and Judge Mullins?
There was.
Pardon?
There was.
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't hear your response. I wasn't being trite. So where did this take place?
It's a restaurant called Street Side, and it's just down the street from the courthouse.
Okay. And it's my understanding there were a couple of other people who attended the luncheon?
There were several, yes.
Okay. And at some point after that, they wrapped up lunch and left, obviously, and went back to the courthouse. Are you aware of anything so far in your investigation that would tell us there was any issues at lunch between Judge
No.
Mullins and Sheriff Steins?
No.
Okay.
Okay. He doesn't. Well, I don't know what he knows. He knows very little. The lead detective. So does something come up at lunch? So is it something comes up at lunch, then the sheriff does a little more investigation and then goes to see the judge in his chambers? Are the people at the luncheon same people that the judge is with in chambers? Not clear. Not clear.
Someone on behalf of the KSP has spoken to those witnesses?
Yes, they've all been interviewed.
And there was nothing unusual that had arisen during that luncheon?
I was told that the judge made a statement to Mickey about, do we need to meet private in my chambers?
Okay, there's something. Do we need to meet private in my chambers? The judge is asking the sheriff. So maybe something did come up at lunch. Was anyone else privy to it?
That's all I was told.
Do you know the context of
I do
what
not.
the conversation was before that they would need to discuss in chambers?
I do not.
Something's brewing, right? Something's brewing. Is it all connected? I think you have to start from the presumption that everything is connected in some way. And then, because, do we need to speak in private? And then when they do speak in private, then what we saw in the video happens. So it seems like something's amiss. Are the other people in the loop here? Now, one of the things that we've learned, and I don't know if I have the audio of it, but one of the people who was at lunch was interviewed and surrendered their cell phone because they had a text chain, not clear who was on it, but a text chain discussing something that was happening at lunch. So is this something that just the sheriff and just the judge know about? Are other people in the loop here? And then we start talking about other people in the loop. Is that how you go from the sheriff to the they? Is that how you go from the sheriff to the they? Because by the sheriff saying that they were going to kidnap my wife and kid, he's got something in his mind. It's obvious if that's what he's saying after he did what he did, that the judge was a part of it, probably would be top of the food chain of the they. I mean, he's the judge, right? The other part of this, and Rick King pointed this out on my show. He's a great lawyer, former police lieutenant down in Florida. And what he said was about the they, and you got to think about this for a second, right? If there were more people involved, why would he stop with the judge? He's the sheriff. Take care of the judge. Who else is going to be part of this group that was going to kidnap my wife and kid? Let me take care of them also. But he didn't do that. Surrendered immediately after this. So if there is a they, if there actually is a they, who are they? And why is the sheriff not concerned about they after the judge is gone? Doesn't make sense. All right, let's get more into the phone calls.
I was told that Sheriff Steins had tried to call his daughter, and he had tried to call his daughter from the judge's phone also.
So,
Tried to call his daughter. Now, when we say try to call your daughter, that usually means we don't make that connection. So there's no conversation. You get voicemail or you get nothing. So when he tries to call and then he gets the judge's phone, why does he need the judge's phone to call his daughter? Like, why? Like, you can call from your own phone and you're having trouble connecting from your own phone. Is it your phone isn't working? I don't think that's the case. Do you? I mean, it's possible. There's some times where my service isn't working. Maybe yours is. They're in the middle of nowhere. But like, that's where he lives and works. So I think his phone is going to be working, I would think. But then he gets the judge's phone and calls or tries to call the daughter. Let's listen.
have you obtained the phone records from Judge Mullins' phone?
I don't have those in my possession yet, no.
Okay, have you issued a search warrant for them?
Yes.
Okay. And have officers confirmed that the sheriff's daughter's phone number was on Judge Mullins' phone?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
So that number had been called from Judge Mullins' phone?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun. Again, the wording is not as crystal clear as it can be. But what I take from that statement is that the judge has called the sheriff's teenage daughter's phone before. That number is in the phone. Seems that number would be in the contacts, right? I mean, I guess there's other ways to interpret that, but like if you're having this Q&A in the courtroom and you're saying it the way that like most people are interpreting it, I think that's the way. If it was something else, I think you would point out something else and clarify it. Why would the judge, a grown man, have the phone number of the teenage daughter of the sheriff in his phone? Why? When the sheriff got the phone from the judge, was he looking through the contacts? Did he punch in the numbers? Did he at that moment discover that his daughter's phone number was there? Or did he suspect it? Or did he know it already and was just confirming it and confronting the judge in front of him? She's a high schooler. She's not in college. She's not in law school. She's not an adult. I think she was 17 at the time. I know what you're all thinking already. Everyone's that's where the rumors were, right? That there's something inappropriate going on. And I'll just take you back to the law of the state of Kentucky. The age of consent is just 16, but that's only with someone else who is 10 years or younger than you are. So if you're 16 and you're with a 25-year-old, that's fine for the 25-year-old. That's not illegal. But if you're 16 and you're with a 27-year-old, not fine. If you're 17 and you're with a 28-year-old, that is not fine. The judge, from his look, I think he was 54 maybe, that's not fine. So if something like that is happening, that is not consensual in the state of Kentucky. So that is illegal. So if that's actually happening, we go back to what I said before. That's where the sheriff has to step back, call up the attorney general, call up the state police, call up a fellow sheriff, provide the information, provide the evidence, and let them take care of it. Period. You don't go in as the judge, jury, and executioner. You just don't. That you can't. It's not permitted under our laws and the laws of Kentucky. It may not be red rum because of what we talked about before, but that may be the lesser charge. 10 to 20 instead of life or capital. So it seems very, very, very clear from this evidence that it has something to do with the sheriff's daughter. No doubt. There's no doubt. Based on this piece of evidence and the statement, they were going to kidnap my wife and kid, one kid, his daughter. Let's listen to some more. All right. Here's the description now. This and what the defense attorney is doing here is establishing or trying to establish this extreme emotional disturbance by trying to paint a picture of what's happening and when it's happening.
He was seated in front of the judge's desk.
And he looks at the cell phone. Can you describe his reaction in the video that we haven't seen?
Whose reaction?
Well, the sheriff.
You can't see his face in the video.
Okay. But is it clear that does it appear to you that, let me rephrase this. Did he stand up after
Yes.
looking at the phone?
He stood up.
And how long after he looked at the cell phone and stood up did this occur that you played?
Just seconds.
Did you make the decision as
Okay, see the timing, all right? Extreme emotional disturbance. Some other states, it's like, they call it passion provocation. Something happens, you lose it in the moment, and it's just within seconds. He sees, he's got the phone, puts it down, he stands up, and that's when we get back to that video and that moment that I showed you where the sheriff is staring at the judge. It's within seconds of handling and seeing something on the judge's phone. That, ladies and gentlemen, that is the defense case. That is the moment of extreme emotional disturbance. But how can we put these things together? How can you put together the daughter's phone number in the judge's contacts with they were going to kidnap my wife and kid? Like, to me, that's not a perfect fit. Like, we probably would have been expecting him to say something else, right? He was my daughter, but he didn't say that. And I wanted to add one more thing to this. If you've seen the GoFundMe that's been posted from, I think it's the wife's sister-in-law, they are denying that happened on the GoFundMe, and they're saying, listen, if you're contributing to help the sheriff's family, don't do it because you think that the judge and the teen daughter were involved in this whole thing. So where are we in all this? It's that small time period, that extreme emotional disturbance, but about what? How is the phone and the daughter connected to this statement they were going to kidnap my wife and my kid? How is that connected? All right, now let's see what they did in terms of the investigation with the
did
daughter.
you conduct an interview with Sheriff Stein's daughter?
I did not, but she has been interviewed.
Are you aware of who was present when she was interviewed?
Lieutenant Randy Combs and Detective Anthony Trotter.
And she was interviewed with or without her parent?
With.
So her parent was present at the time you interviewed her?
Yes, I believe. I wasn't there, but yes, I think so.
And law enforcement has not spoken to her without her parent present?
Not that I'm aware of.
Did the Kentucky State Police obtain her phone?
No.
You intend to obtain records for her cell phone number?
Possibly, yes.
That's fascinating. They didn't want the daughter's phone, but the defense attorney wants them to have it. That's what I'm hearing. Like, you're taking a look at it, right? Aren't you? Wow.
Do you believe that that will be soon that you'll do that?
Could be, yes.
Had you already intended to do that, or did you just respond to my question?
Well, the call should be on the judge's records too.
Well, I understand.
And
but
she's made statements about what occurred during those conversations.
I understand.
So the daughter in her interview has given all this information about whatever her and the judge are talking about to investigators. So they have the information. The daughter is cooperating. Like, you don't have to cooperate. Like, police ask you a question, you can say, no, I don't want to talk to you. They can't compel you to cooperate. I've been seeing some, out of the corner of my eye, some of the comments in the chat, people wondering, is there something going on in the sheriff's family, all that. I mean, if you looked in the courtroom yesterday, it was pretty clear to me that the sheriff's daughter was seated behind the sheriff. And she was blocked, but I believe the wife was next to the daughter. So I think the daughter and the wife were next to each other behind the sheriff. So I don't think there's any sort of splitzo in the family. They may not be happy with everything that's transpired here. I don't know. But the daughter was there for sure. I saw her, and I believe she was sitting next to the sheriff's wife in court on the side of, the courtroom is like a wedding, one side or the other. Judge's family behind the prosecution and the sheriff's family behind him.
In that, but I would presume that have you ascertained whether Judge Mullins also had apps that stand outside?
Right. And the defense is pointing out, listen, you can communicate with cell records, but there's other ways to communicate on cell phones, like through apps and everything else. Some that are more secretive than others. Like, are you guys getting all the information is what he's asking. He's also asking because he wants to know what to expect in discovery in the case and what to request and et cetera, et cetera. All right. I don't know if I want to get into the civil suit today. Before I run out of time, I don't think I want to get into that civil suit. They go into the civil suit. Let's get more into the phone here.
Does it appear that this took place as a reaction to what was happening in the chambers at that point?
I can say it occurred after a phone call was made. I don't know what was said or nothing like that. But
Fair enough, and I'm not asking you the content of any of that, but at this point, is it your theory that whatever that content was in the discussion was the impetus of the shooting?
it could be, but I don't know that for a fact.
Okay. Do you have any evidence up until this point that you have developed that would demonstrate that it was not as a reaction to what was on the phone?
No.
All right. I want to get to the comments because I'm going to run out of time here. I've gone a little bit longer than I usually do, but putting these things together are extremely significant. And, they're going to kidnap my wife and daughter. He also said, when he surrendered, just treat me fairly. Just treat me fairly. So I think from the defense side, fairly is going to be the lower charge. I think there'll be a trial. There's a potential it could be a deal here if they offer something less, but they could be going all the way for they could turn this into a capital case. The red rum of a public official qualifies it. It's on video. He's defenseless. Wow. Wow. Is what I'm saying. All right, I'm going to try to go back. I got to go back almost an hour. I'm going to skim through these very quickly. So generally what I like to do is go back to the beginning and just grab comments along the way, but I'm going to have to skim through a lot of them very quickly today. But thank you for all the great comments and, of course, for the super chats. That is very, very appreciated. All right. Reminder, Gen X, one of our mods here, keeping law and order. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here, taking care of business. We are live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Twitch. So please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Have to remind folks, they forget, you might be your first time here. And share on Facebook and exit, Rexit on X, right? All right. All right. Jammin, who's they and how was the judge involved with that? To me, that's a huge question. Huge question. Thank you so much, Jammin. Okay, let me give you a quick theory that I have. All right, there's three ways this could go. Three ways, right? One could be that there is something actually going on and someone is trying to do harm to his family, to the sheriff's family. All right. I don't want everything's on the table right now based upon what we know. Everything's on the table. That is possible that there was something going on that would separate in some way the judge from his family in whatever manifestation it was in. It was something that was going to interfere with the sheriff being with his teenage daughter and his wife, his family. And maybe he says the word kidnap, but maybe means it in a different way. I think that's possible. Could there be a literal plot? Yeah, of course there could be a literal plot. And if there was, why would you handle it this way? Why wouldn't you protect your family and everyone in law enforcement and take care of it? That's why that doesn't make sense to me necessarily. The other possibility, which I think is on the table as well, is the sheriff under some stress, I don't know, from everything going on, and has some sort of a mental breakdown and is somewhat paranoid and delusional, right? And he thinks that they are coming after my family, and it's actually a mental break. I mean, that's possible. We'll find out, because if that's what happened, the defense, that's your defense, right? Because under those circumstances, you don't know the difference between right and wrong, right? Like if you have a delusional thing that people are coming after you and you're paranoid and they're coming to get your family, you're doing what you can to protect your family. You don't believe you're doing something evil. You believe you're doing something good by protecting your family from these evil people. And then you're giving yourself up and say, just treat me fairly because I did what I had to do. Like that's possible. I think it's on the table. I think it's in the conversation. If you're saying that people conspiring together to kidnap my wife and daughter, why would they want to do that? Who would want to do that? We don't know. No one's been named. There's no information about it. Seems kind of out of left field. If it wasn't a sheriff who said it, if it was someone else who just wandered into the courthouse, that would be your first thought. So I think it's in the conversation. I think it's on the table. And he could have lost it. He could also, in his mind, be conflating things, right? So it's a combination of factors here, right? He's growing paranoid because of some sort of mental break. And then there's also this contact between the judge and his daughter for whatever reason. And he puts the pieces together that don't equal this plot, but in his mind, he does. It does come together as a plot in his mind. I have no idea. He may be 100% mentally healthy, but he could also be suffering from some mental illness, and that could potentially be an explanation here. By the way, we're over 3,200 on this Wednesday. Thank you so much. Facebook, YouTube, X, and Stitch. All right. I've got to do a lot of quick scrolling here to get anywhere close to where we are right now. All right. Captain Jenks is with us today, starting to give vibes of Gary Plausch case. In my opinion, that's right. That's an interesting analysis. That's an interesting analysis. There's something going on here. We got, if 100% is the whole story in that hearing, I think we got about 40%. I think we got about 40% of it. And Jennifer Sube here. Don't forget to like and subscribe, one of our other moderators, along with Gen X and Frankie Figs. Ashley Bouchard. Trupa Procta. Yeah, the lead investigator who testified here has the same position, hopefully different character than Trooper Proctor. Here we go. Who is to his left? He keeps looking over. Who is to his left? He keeps looking over. I think that's during the testimony. So that would be the witness to his left is the screen. The TV screen is to the left. There's no jury there. The judge is to his right. And I think the attorney was directly in front of him. So I think that's sort of referencing the video, maybe. All right. I'm scrolling. And yep, they often went to lunch together. I could see that. They clearly know one another. I mean, this small town here, small town, small jurisdiction, small little criminal justice system, right? All right, let's see. All right. Steve Dockstader goes all the way there, Steve. Yeah, another guess. And a guess, right? Like judges having an affair with sheriff's wife, family leaving sheriff to live with judge. It's got to be extreme. Yeah, it's got to be super extreme. Judge has his own family. Maybe he thinks he's thinking this in his mind somehow. It could be part of the delusion. It could be, and then, sometimes, and I've had clients like this when I was a lawyer, and people like this would show up to the prosecutor's office when I was a prosecutor, who were unfortunately suffering from mental illness and had a level of paranoia, but they could take anything that happened that was happening around them, turn it to have it fit into their ongoing conspiracy that they were developing in their mind about who was coming after them. So everything that happened in their life, oh, I know why that happened. And unfortunately, if that's what was happening with the sheriff, there could be little things, and he might be thinking something like that is happening. Whoa, LaDonna, that's one step too far. The sheriff and the judge were involved. I don't think so. I don't think so. But here's the thing. The prosecution didn't want you to know. Okay, let me lay this. A lot of times in a probable cause hearing, preliminary hearing like this, you're in and out as quickly as possible. But if you have a motive, you might lay it out there. They didn't here. They didn't. Purposely. Like they cut the video so you couldn't see what led up to it. Purposely. And that makes me a little skeptical. Frankie Figs, thanking everyone and saying hello. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Frankie Figs. Okay, Amacordy says, how about saying M instead of red rum? Well, the reason I said red rum instead of M is that I will often say nug. So I was like, why don't we just start saying some things backwards? I don't know. Works both. As long as you understand what we're saying, I think we can get into it. It's crazy. Like I say things on broadcast television that you, for whatever reason, you can't, you say it on YouTube and they'll just make sure nobody ever sees your video. Strange world we live in. But I digress. All right. Sweet Crazy. Vinny, I don't know how you do this. Well, this is what I do. This is my chosen profession. I was a prosecutor. I'm a lawyer. And I've been in love with broadcasting since I was a child with my first Super 8 camera and my cassette deck that I could record on. So that's what I do. This particular genre, right? A lot of people say it's a difficult genre. How do you look at it? Well, for me, it becomes just a search for the truth, and truth in our system equals justice. So it's a search for justice. It's a search for the truth. You have to understand that you don't commit any of these crimes. They happen, but you shine a light on them. You keep the system honest. You keep the judges honest, and you give a voice to the victims. So that's how I do it in a nutshell. In a nutshell. Some interesting theories flying in the chat that I'm seeing. Interesting theories, and that's part of the conversation right now, and that's because prosecutors purposely did not want any of this stuff made public. Now, there's a trial strategy to it, but then there's also the PR strategy to it. There may be some stuff that may put the court of public opinion be a little more sympathetic to the sheriff. That evidence may exist. I don't know if it does, but it's possible that you'll hear stuff and then you'll, oh, I understand. I don't excuse, but I understand. Prosecutors don't want that. They absolutely don't want that. At trial, the evidence will be what it is, but at that point, you have a jury already. Vet Girl RW Bus with a muscle. What is the law in Kentucky when it comes to protecting your child from mental, physical harm? Look at what this KYP states about his investigation. Who does the sheriff tell? A judge? A KYP? It's not okay to K someone. Thanks. Yeah, no, it's not okay to K someone. What is the law when it comes to protecting your child? The law, like justifiable H side, like it's crazy gymnastics with words, but justifiable is only self-defense. So there has to be an actual threat. You reasonably believe that there is a threat and you need to take action to either stop that threat from great bodily injury or death to you or another. That's just basic self-defense. That's when you can take an action like this. Is there self-defense in that moment? No. We saw the video. Only one person is armed. We saw it. So protecting your child is the same as protecting yourself, same as protecting a stranger in the moment. Self-defense is self-defense. Defense of self or others. Children fall under the others. There's no superpowers that you get to protect your child. It's just maybe your child could be more vulnerable. But that's where it is. And if you're the sheriff, you know where you can go. Like if you have a conflict, like, because this is obviously personal, right? This is personal. We were saying that since day one. This is personal. So if it's personal, you as the sheriff, you know your canons of ethics. You know that's the time where you've got to call up, likely, I would believe, the Kentucky State Police. Listen, we got this. I've got some evidence for you. I am now a witness in this case. Let me hand it to you, and you guys take over. If something illegal was happening or there was some illegal threat or perceived threat to his family, to his daughter, ongoing conduct, whatever it is, he becomes a witness. He must pass that on to the state police, attorney general's office, special prosecutor, however it's going to be done. But I will put a caveat there. 12 people in the box at a trial can come back and say, that's okay, and vote not guilty. They won't be instructed that you can ignore the law and vote not guilty. But once a jury votes not guilty, it's over. It's over. So that, depending upon how the people perceive this. Seeing some other comments here. Oh, Vet Girl's back. Red flags this PC hearing. Ellie doesn't say what daughter said. This needs it. Yeah, that's what I was saying, Vet Girl. Exactly what I was saying. The fact that they are not putting it out there and are trimming the video, and they are what's the best way to say this? They are putting in as little evidence as possible. Like that happens. Like that happens in all these probable cause hearings. But if you have motive evidence, you might sprinkle it in there. It's just one more question. But they didn't want to go anywhere near it. The detective who was testifying, the lead detective, had no knowledge of it purposely. He probably, once this hearing was over, boom, he goes back to the office. He's reading every report. He knows everything. Yes. Truth in a can. I got it. It's all mushed together. It's hard. Truth in a can. His wife was literally in court with his daughter sitting there. Yes. In the shots that I saw, the wife was behind like the attorney's head, so I couldn't see her, but it was obvious that the daughter was sitting next to someone, but a clear shot of the daughter. Thank you, Truth in a Can. The question is, can we recycle this comment? Dad joke. All right. I'm running out of time quickly, so I got to scroll even quicker. Still like a half hour behind. I've been a half hour behind the whole time. So I'm going to go real fast now. I'm going to go real fast to scroll through. All right. Let's see. ACAB True Crime. Paranoid delusions. Kind of doubt it with the sheriff, but who knows? Right? That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's possible. Like if it wasn't the sheriff, if it was a stranger who wandered into the chambers, we would be talking about that if they made that statement. Like, what are you talking about? Look at this. New subscriber, Angela Jones. Love your channel. Best wishes from Manchester in England. Thank you, Angela. I think there was just a crime con over there in England. Hope you got to go there. I know Justice Scott Morgan was also over there. My man from the Body Bags podcast. Mm-hmm. Denise likes red rum. You should coin and copyright that one, Vinny. Well, Charles Manson may have beat me to it, but Denise, yeah, I think I'm probably going to stick with that. I'm going to stick with that. Yeah. So, sheriff's family literally in court behind him. Judge's family behind the prosecution. So, whatever may have happened here, both sides are kind of where we would think they would be. Dolores likes red rum too. I just saw that. All right, I'm getting much closer. All right, I'm almost caught up. Jennifer Sube, yes, Vinny, we want to watch you tonight, 8 p.m. on Court TV, closing arguments, and then 9 o'clock, Vinny Politan investigates. 9 o'clock, we're doing all these new allegations and revelations, believe it or not, in the Diddy case. So we're doing Diddy at 9. We're doing Sarah Boone taking the stand today in court at 8. And of course, we've got Cody on the case in Letcher County, Kentucky, taking us inside the courthouse tonight. So it's a big show tonight. We're going inside the courthouse with Cody on the case. We are We have Sarah Boone on the stand, and then 9 o'clock, we investigate the new Diddy allegations. So it's all coming up. Thank you, Jennifer Sube, tonight on Court TV. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining me today. I wanted to get this in. Each day for me is a challenge to be able to live stream. Everything's got to fall just right. You have a doctor's appointment, or like today, I didn't know if I was going to be able to do this because I did a interview with Inside Edition about this case. I think that's airing tonight. But I was able to put it together. Again, I'm usually this time of day is when I can squeeze it in on some days. I try to do Fridays around 12:30 on the Tangent podcast with Jonesy and Al, my co-hosts on that show. On Fridays, we do 12:30. And then I try to sneak in different times. Once in a while, I do a late night after my show. Like, those are fun ones because I'm a little loopy after hours. And I also try to get some early ones in. Once in a while, I'll do a 9 a.m. East Coast. The other day, I did an 11:30 East Coast. That was a good time. If I can do an 11:30, I'd love to do an 11:30 because I can hang on a little bit longer. Because right now, I got to get ready for the show at 8 o'clock. I've got things to do. The hair looks like it's ready, but it's got to be finalized. It's got to be finalized. So thank you everyone for watching, for tuning in. I'm just scrolling here. Make sure I'm not missing. Ashley loves a late night Sunday show. Yes, Sundays I've done like 9 o'clock. I've done 10 o'clock. I've done 8 o'clock on Sundays. So I like doing those. But weekends, things are happening. And by the way, I've got some vacations coming up. I'll be out of town. So I may do one or two this fall from out of the country, if possible, technologically. All right, Daisy says the hair is ready. All right, gel, not oil, says Rebecca. How about some mousse? Why not some mousse in my hair? All right. Let's see. Gen X, we usually get a Sunday night show once a month. Oh, we'll get one. It all depends on what's happening, how I'm feeling. I did a couple during the summer after baseball games, and during the show actually had muscle spasms. Real, like real muscle spasms, like excruciating. So there we go. Everyone's guessing where I'm going. I'm not telling you where I'm going. It's going to be part of what you have to guess. You're going to have to guess where I am, let's do one more thing. Like to do this at the end of the show. I know we have a bunch of nurses who are always concerned about me. I'm type 1 diabetic. I like to be very public about it because I want people to understand diabetes. And by the way, if you have children and you've noticed that they are going to the bathroom a lot, number one, like a lot, and they may be losing some weight, going like a lot, please go to the doctor. It's a quick, easy test to check them for type 1 diabetes like I have. So in tune with that, I have produced we've sort of been doing it unofficially, but now we're going to do it officially. This is the part of the show at the end where you can all guess what my blood sugar is. Okay. And I have it right here. I have my sugar right here. Okay. So with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, as we finish up the show, it's time to guess my blood sugar.
Is the type 1. He's type 1. His pancreas is on fruits. He has diabetes type 1 juvenile diabetes. And so it's time to guess, is more or less. What's his blood sugar? What's Vinny's blood sugar? Under 70, he gets like Ted. Under 60, all the alarms start ringing. Over 180, he starts to get lethargic. But when it's 90, Vinny, eyes are singing. And so it's time to guess, is more or less. What's his blood sugar? What's Vinny's blood sugar? But take a guess. Yes, take a guess. Let's guess Vinny's blood sugar now.
Oh, people are so close. So close. So close. But no one has gotten it yet. No one has gotten it yet. Daisy was close with one of their guesses. Gen X was close with one of her earlier guesses. Yeah. Let's see. Mika's close. Everyone is just circling around my blood sugar. Come on, we got to get it. We got to get it. Otherwise, we got to play the song again.
Here's the type 1. Here's type 1. His pancreas is on fruits. He has diabetes.
Come on, we got to get it.
Diabetes.
We're so close.
And so it's time to guess, is more or less.
Daisy, you're so close.
What's his blood sugar? What's Vinny's blood sugar? Under 70, he gets like Ted.
Jennifer, you're so
Under
close.
60, all the alarms start ringing.
How is no one hitting this?
Over 180, he starts to
Evie,
get
you're so
lethargic.
close.
But when it's 90, Vinny, eyes are singing. And so it's time to guess,
How many people are going to miss it by one?
is more or less.
Crazy.
What's his blood sugar? What's Vinny's blood sugar? But take a guess.
I can't even keep up with all the
Yes,
guesses
take
now.
a guess. Let's
Keep up with all
guess
the guesses.
Vinny's blood sugar now.
All right, I'm scrolling. Holy mackerel. Coffee girl, you're so close. Oh, Jennifer. All right, I'm scrolling down. Let me see. No. I'm still trying to find it. Somebody's got to get it. This is taking the longest than any of it. It's such a like solid number. It's like an easy number. John missing it by one. Well, how many people can miss it by one and not get? Oh, Evie! You done did it, Evie. You done did it. 125. Congratulations, Evie. At some point when I have merch, we'll give stuff away. But I can't tell you how many people. 124, 126, 124, 126, 123, 127. And then finally, Evie. If someone got it before Evie and I missed you, my apologies. But great job. That's it, folks. I literally have to go because I gotta get ready for the big show tonight. I'm Vinny Politan. Have a great day. I will see you in just over 2 hours live on Court TV. Your front row seat to justice. Have a great day. And please don't forget to hug the kids.
Let's go!
It's true crime, streaming live, worldwide. It's City Live. It's true crime, streaming live, worldwide. prosecutor, hat, get set. To like and to subscribe, let's go.